Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Alexis.
Hello out there. So we are the hosts of Distillations. And normally you are used to, I don't know, hearing us in your ears, podcast wise. But since it's Halloween and we have a new exhibition downstream, we thought it would be fun to do something video on YouTube. So here we go. Did I create the right spooky mood right there?
Yeah. I think it's very spooky. I'm feeling very haunted right now.
Good.
So
perfect.
I wanna just kick us off on our spooky science stories of water. It's all water tonight. It's all water from the sky and the rain and the clouds and the dark and stormy nights, or it's deep in the ocean. But I have a question for you first, Alexis.
Yes.
Which is, have you ever wondered, do you know, how deep is the ocean?
Okay. Interesting icebreaker. I like it. Yeah, shoot. How deep is the ocean?
We don't know.
Excuse me?
We don't know. So the deepest recorded dive by a human being was over 35,000 feet deep into the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. And to be clear, 35,000 feet is over 6 miles. It's almost 7 miles. 7 miles straight down deep into the ocean, and their feet didn't touch the bottom.
Okay. You know what? I'm sure it's fine. It's totally fine. Nothing scary living in that intense pressure and darkness. Nothing bioluminescent or thousands of feet long with horrible sharp teeth. Yeah. I'm sure it's all fine. It's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine down there. Which is probably why we have so many not at all scary stories about the ocean and about water more generally. I mean, water is a force of nature. Water is a force of nature, and we underestimate it at our peril. And maybe because it's powerful and it's necessary and it scares us a little bit sometimes, we try to understand water with science.
That's right. It may not seem like an obvious link, but spooky stories about water, science stories about water, well, they go hand in hand. Where there's a miraculous phenomenon, there's a scientist with a magnifying glass trying to make sense of it. So that's what we're here to tell you about. Spooky or, well, also just plain weird water stories with a scientific twist.
Well, shall we dive in?
Are you gonna do this all night?
Do what? What are you talking about?
Okay. Hold on, let me try. I feel that pun was a little shallow. Well, anyways, first things first, let's show off our signature cocktail for tonight, the Dark and Stormy. Ooh.
That's right. The Dark and Stormy is perfect for that spooky, scary, but also relaxing podcast hosted evening. It's a very simple cocktail. It just uses dark rum, that's the dark, and ginger beer, that's the stormy, served over ice and garnished with a slice of lime. How is it, Alexis?
Fancy. I mean, you heard it. Listen, you heard it here first, friends. It's delicious. And if, like me, you find ginger beer a little bit weird, feel free to add a little bit of Coca-Cola to yours. Live your best life.
Well, I will say our cocktail uses ice and limes, and this is just I'm telling our viewers, heads up, ice and limes are going to feature really big in tonight's tales. You have been warned.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, speaking of which, I think we should get started with our first story of the night, because that's what we like to do here, is tell stories. And so it has to do with water, of course, but not from a river or a lake, but from the clouds. rainwater, a precious resource, one that we here in this humid, currently rainy part of the East Coast often take for granted. So, our first segment tonight, folks, is going to be manufacturing the weather. Ooh,
I feel like I
spooky.
saw that exact sky over my house.
Yes. Same.
So
my cat's
just
uncomfortable.
To set the stage for rain, in the ancient world, ceremonies to call rain were ubiquitous across communities, cultures, continents. Without it, crops die and people starve. Simple. And this was still just as true in the early 19th century when the meteorologist James P. Espy started petitioning Congress to let him light fires up and down all of the mountains in Appalachia with the hope of turning smoke into rain. Sound crazy? Plenty of people thought so. The famous American novelist Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was the author of a delightfully spooky book, The House of the Seven Gables, he wrote that Espy's ideas belonged in the Hall of Fantasy. Professor Espy, he wrote, was trying to play at being the god of the winds with a tremendous storm in his gum-elastic bag. Pretty negative Yelp review.
Oh gosh, sick burn though. Really, I kind of like it. Now, listen, there was a real scientific basis for Espy's theory. He proposed that the primary cause of rain was convection, basically the movement of hot air. So, any of you or us with a convection oven might understand his principle. So Espy believed that when the heated updrafts from those big fires rose up into the sky, they would kind of cool and condense and form into clouds. And eventually, clouds would form into rain. And he thought the whole process was already at work in nature. And the only thing that needed to be done to solve this problem, wait for it, was to mimic it with man made heat, AKA lighting fires. Simple, right? When you get down to it. I mean, it's a solid idea, kind of. I mean, would it work, though, is the big question.
And the answer turned out to be yes and no. His theory was innovative enough that the U.S. Army gave him a job as the nation's first professional meteorologist. Big deal. But his methods didn't actually make much rain.
So 50 years later, someone else tried to take things up a notch using explosive and gunpowder instead of just fires, as you do. His name was Robert St. George Dryenforth. Oh, I'm saying it wrong. Robert St. George Dyrenforth. Woo! Woo! See, on Distillations podcast, you get our producers come through and cut out all the parts where we can't pronounce things.
You said it wrong.
But now we don't have that luxury. Okay, so now this Robert St. George, he was a charismatic huckster type. It takes one to do something such as this. He
also gave him the old razzle dazzle.
Yeah, the old razzle dazzle. He was a patent attorney turned alchemical meteorologist, which I really like. So somehow, I don't know, through alchemy, he got a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to go to Texas and attack their drought with dynamite and blasting powder, mortar shells, smoke bombs, electrified kites, exploding hydrogen balloons, and yes, even fireworks.
I think you could tell from this story that the Texas droughts in the 1890s made the government very desperate.
Yes.
They would really try anything, but that desperation did not make Dyrenforth's rain bombs any more effective. His team took credit for any rain that fell on the entire state for that entire year, but there's actually no proof that his violent cloud seeding did anything but make noise. So the war on drought failed.
But, because remember, folks, this is a spooky night. On a deep, dark night in the 1940s, when the fog was thick and the sky dark and hidden. Espy's ghost. I'm sorry. I mean, the ghost of Espy's ideas came back to haunt us. In a good way.
It's true. So during World War II, British Air Force pilots and landing crews, they continually struggled with fog. It's the British Isles. Their instruments were pretty crude, and low visibility landings meant crashes, wrecked planes, and injured or dead pilots. So their solution? They borrowed Espy's method and they tried to create convection. They burned thousands of gallons of gasoline along runway strips, heating the air to create strong updrafts that pulled the fog up and away and made the landing strips safe and visible.
Ooh. So now burning countless gallons of gas is not exactly a climate friendly solution, if we're being honest. But it did save pilots' lives and prove that Espy was right. Well, I mean, at least when it came to the idea of heating air to move it upwards. We're not saying light a whole bunch of fires to create rain. That's crazy. That's nonsense.
No. I mean, scientists from Espy onward, scientists are always trying to get natural forms of water to do unnatural things. So on that note, I have another question. Alexis, have you ever heard ice scream? And I'm not trying to make a pun. I swear. I'm not trying to make a pun. I'm talking about screaming ice. Have you heard it?
I mean, I guess I've heard ice creak a little. Like that grinding sound that it makes, when you try to pry off like an icicle off of other icicles. But it sounds like you're about to tell me that it's time for another segment.
It's time for another segment about grinding ice, only about 1,000 times louder than your icicles.
All right, let's get to the segment. Give us a moment, folks. Here we go. All right.
Wow. That haunting, eerie sound.
I wonder, actually, well, I know what that haunting, eerie sound was because I just made it with sound effects. So, but you're saying that's not the sound that ice makes, if ice makes a sound.
Well, I'm saying that sound, that grinding, creaking, crunching ice sound might be the source of a much more mysterious sound, which I call the bloop.
I'm sorry. What?
The bloop. The bloop. It's an unexplained sound that was captured by underwater researchers in 1997. Basically, some scientists put microphones deep into the ocean. They're actually called hydrophones, the underwater microphone that can go deep into the water. And they were looking for something.
Okay, so, all right, I'm trying not to get creeped out. What were they looking for?
They were actually trying to track underwater volcanic activity in the Pacific. So they weren't looking for monsters or for screaming ice. They were looking actually for screaming lava.
But what that's comforting.
Yeah, right? That's so much. Feels so much safer knowing there's just volcanoes under the ocean. That's fine. But what they got instead of this volcanic activity tracking, what they got was the bloop, an unexplained sound that was nothing like their other recorded phenomena. It was haunting and eerie, and the bloop resonated through the ocean. Woo! Bloop.
Okay, that is spooky. I don't like unexplained sounds. That really is getting to me.
Right? And keep in mind, their microphones were over 3,000 kilometers apart, but they were catching the same strange noise. So whatever it was, the noise was big, terrifyingly big.
Okay, so, all right, I'm just going to spitball a couple of ideas here. World's largest whale, giant squid, secret underground or underwater military base, portal to another dimension where terrifying kaiju come out.
Yeah, it was probably, no, just kidding. Those are all really valid guesses. And the question brought scientists together from the Pacific Marine Environmental Laboratory. And it took them almost a decade of searching before they actually realized for certain what they were hearing, which was not an underwater monster.
Okay.
But something with a really, really cool name. An ice quake. It's a giant, an ice quake, like an earthquake, but happening in ice. So it's a giant, really loud rumbling of vibration that happens when a piece of a glacier, in this case, a glacier in Antarctica, sort of splits and shears and falls away into the ocean. So that's our little icicle, our grindy little icicle sound turned up to about not 11, but like 11 million.
Huh. Okay, so ice really can scream.
I scream, you scream, glaciers in Antarctica scream.
I knew it. I knew I was opening the door to this. Okay, listen, it can scream. That's impressive. But can it sink? Can it become as dense as metal?
I feel like you have the answers to these strange questions.
As it happens, I do. So, all right. Did you know that there are different kinds of ice? I'm very excited to nerd out about this.
I mean, okay.
I don't mean like hard ice or slushy ice or like icicle ice or sidewalk ice and so on and so forth. I mean like ice with a different molecular structure. So the regular everyday ice that we kind of keep in our freezers or a slip on in winter has a specific name, and it's called ice H or ice 1H, really. So since ice 1H is inorganic and has a crystal structure made from like a lattice of these little tiny hexagons, it's technically a mineral.
Oh, okay. So all those times we made snowballs as kids with like a little bit of ice in the middle, we were technically just pelting our friends with minerals.
I mean, yes, with rocks. I mean, we could say it. Listen, everyone should feel bad. But listen, okay, so ice 1H is pretty special. So the spaced out pattern of those hexagon things I was telling you about, it makes it less dense than water, so it floats. And floating ice protects and insulates lakes and ponds in the winter. For why, you might ask? It's actually for the aquatic creatures that are living beneath it. They need to sort of be protected from all that wind and extreme cold. I mean, honestly, you could say without ice 1H, life on Earth wouldn't be the same.
Well, a cozy little ice blanket for all the fish.
No,
but
I love it.
You saying ice 1H 1 makes me think that you're about to tell me there's an ice 2. Like ice 2, the icing.
I know, this is like like my favorite the princess switched again. Listen,
ice 7.
Ice 7. No, I mean, I actually, we're joking, but there's not only an ice 2, there's an ice 3, an ice 4, an ice 5, all the way up to ice 15.
What?
Yes. And the first two new ices, ice 2 and ice 3, were discovered as early as 1900. So basically, we've had new laboratory created forms of ice for over 100 years.
This is ridiculous. I can't believe that they've been withholding the forbidden ice for all this time. Okay, what does this freaky ice do?
Okay, well, haha. Good question. So, for starters, their molecules have been rearranged. So, think about going trick or treating and like you get a Hershey bar and then you open it up and you find that the chocolate has that weird waxy, like chalky surface on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I hate that. Yes, it happens like every time.
No. Yes, that's actually the real spooky science story of tonight. Like
bad candy.
Okay, well, so now it's still the same chocolate. I mean, grosser, but still the same chocolate, same ingredients, all sealed up in the same package. But what's happened is that the cocoa molecules have been squeezed together, which increased the chocolate's density and pushed the fat to the surface of the bar. So it's the same chocolate, but a different molecular structure. And the same thing happens with ice.
That is amazing. But it's less delicious with ice.
I mean, yes, considerably less delicious, but it can do pretty cool stuff. Like when you expose ice to incredibly high pressure, millions of times higher than like regular atmospheric pressure, you can make it super dense, like so dense it sinks in water. You can make it so pressurized it could stay at solid temperatures of thousands of degrees or vaporize in a glass of liquid water. With enough pressure, you can actually turn ice's hexagons into other shapes, rhombuses, tetragons, like peace out snowflakes, you're not cool anymore, and hello to, I don't know, I haven't come up with a very cool fun name for this yet, but some other weird thing.
So we could have like dodecahedron ice.
Follow your dreams, Lisa.
I will, but I don't think I want to put any of this super pressured vaporizing ice into our Dark and Stormies. I think I'll save that for my favorite ice 1H.
Yes,
you can have a favorite ice. I can't believe I can have a favorite ice. I never knew this is available. I gotta be honest, I'm not sure I like ice that much. Like I would not like go to Antarctica to go meet the greatest ice in the world, all the ice.
You're not willing to sail up to the Arctic?
I am not. Let's just say I have watched one too many Age of Sail dramas where like the polar expedition gets stuck in the ice floe and it has to chip its way out while, starving to death. And in the meantime, some kind of mysterious polar bear yeti creature is picking the crew off one by one. And like, you get what I'm saying? Like these are like, it just sounds a little doomed.
I do. I get it. So you want it, listen, if you want high seas adventure,
always.
I have a ghost story for you. And let me tell you, folks, it's time for another segment. Here we go.
I'm so excited. Because I think I know what you're going to say. I think I know what this segment is about. Is this segment about the Flying Dutchman?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So now there are lots of legends of sailors, mirages, and floating ghost ships that are all like kind of lumped together under the Flying Dutchman. But the basic premise is this: a ghostly, barely glimpsed ship appears on the horizon. Everybody sees it, but when they sail closer, nothing's there at all. No ship, no crew, not even a floating barrel. Like it wasn't even a living ship at all.
The legend of the Flying Dutchman has been around for centuries, and some claim it was a Dutch merchant vessel destroyed in a storm during the 17th century. There's a later written description of the Dutchman in the travel account, A Voyage to Botany Bay or A Voyage to New South Wales, that was written in 1795 and attributed to the Irish socialite and accused pickpocket George Barrington. Here's Barrington to tell you exactly what he heard.
Yes, we brought him back. And here we go.
In this archival footage.
This
from
very
1795.
Obvious, yes, this archival footage from 1795, and we're going to throw to it.
I had often heard of the superstition of sailors respecting apparitions of doom, but had never given much credit to their craft. It seems that some years since, a Dutch man of war was lost off the Cape of Good Hope, and every soul on board perished. In the night watch, some of the people saw, or imagined they saw, a vessel standing for them under press of sail, as though she would run them down. But on its clearing up, the object, a dark, thick cloud, disappeared. Nothing could do away the idea of this phenomenon in the minds of the sailors, and the story spread like wildfire. The supposed phantom was called the Flying Dutchman.
A Wow, that is incredible. I can't believe we were able to capture that. That is
I wonder if I'm related to the Barringtons
I
somehow.
you
Like
bear
distantly, you
some
know, like really, really far back in time, really far back.
you do bear some similarities. Now, countless sailors through the centuries claimed to have seen the ghostly shape of the Dutchman on the horizon. Was it an omen, a warning, a threat? Who knows? Even the future King of England, George V, claimed to have seen the Dutchman in 1881 as a young man sailing around the coast of Australia. Now, 13 people on the same watch claimed they saw the same thing, a ghostly, glowing vessel with 3 masts that appeared in the distance around 4 a.m.
Now, there were even 20th century sightings of the Dutchman. I mean, in 1939, when we had cars, we had the radio.
Yeah.
We were still seeing the Dutchman. So
Yes.
in 1939, it was sighted by multiple people at Glencairn Beach in Cape Town, South Africa. And in 1941, a Nazi U-boat crew even reported a sighting of the Flying Dutchman east of the Suez Canal.
I mean, so what is the Dutchman really? A haunting, a curse? We spoke to some local pirates to get to the heart of the matter in a new segment we're calling Pirates Ask Us Questions, which we are 100% sure will be a segment we're going to need to do again, everyone.
I think their input is really important.
I do. I'm glad that we have them here with us this evening. Pirates Ask Us Questions.
Beware! The Flying Dutchman, where be it? Have you seen it? It's an omen of doom.
Okay. Calm down. We would not have invited you here if we thought you were in danger of being killed by a ghost pirate or a ghost ship. Are you a ghost pirate? You know what? Don't answer that.
If ye know of the Dutchman, you know it's a sign of disaster. Abandon ship, abandon hope.
Okay. It's really, I think we can help here. First of all, you're safe. You're safe here. You're safe here with us. Second of all, the Flying Dutchman is not real. It's not real. You speak such folly at your peril. I'm sure I do. But look, okay, so scientists, and you might know them as natural philosophers or men of letters, naturalists. Was John James Audubon born yet in your time by any chance? Who? Isaac Newton?
Who? Oh, the apple fellow.
Good. Okay. Well, scientists like Isaac Newton in our time have figured out that the Flying Dutchman is really an optical illusion. So it's a trick of light and air that makes us think we're seeing a ghost ship on the horizon. As you're vastly more educated than me, miss, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, think about it this way. The Earth is curved, right? And we know that light does bend a little bit along with it. Well, light also bends when it meets pockets or layers of air that are at dramatically different temperatures, specifically when light meets a thermal inversion. Now, a thermal inversion is warmer air stacked on top of cooler air, which is the opposite of how it usually goes, right? So, if you climb a mountain, it might be warmer at the bottom of the slope and then colder at the top, right? Because that's how our atmosphere is normally layered. No offense, and begging your pardon, but that sounds like codswallop to me, miss. How can a bit of nothing look like a boat?
Well, so when light hits a really strong one of these thermal pockets, strong enough that the curvature of the light rays becomes stronger than the curvature of the Earth, what you get are these weird distorted arcs of light. And there is your optical illusion. It looks like a floating ship hovering over the horizon.
Yeah. There's even a cool term for it, Fata Morgana, after the Arthurian sorceress Morgan Le Fay, Morgan the Fairy, who created illusions to lure knights to their deaths.
And Fata Morganas can take place on land or on sea, so the Dutchman is just one of many, many kinds of mirages that you can see.
My word. An illusion, you say? Like a bit of stage magic. They done it with mirrors, do you think?
Or is it because when the light hits your eyes, your brain thinks it arrived there in a straight path between you and the object reflecting the light? So, if the light's bent, your brain's going to assume the object's in a different place than what really is. Like when you look down into the water and your brain tells your eyes something's right there below you, when really it ain't, because the density of water distorts the view. Yeah. Yeah, that. Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty much.
Yeah, yep.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it.
Nah, I understands it now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Dutchman isn't real. The Dutchman isn't real, guys. Dutchman isn't real, fellas. Come on, Dutchman isn't real. Come on, move along.
Our pleasure. You're welcome. Wow. Okay.
Bye. Bye, guys. Bye.
Okay.
I just feel like that pirate has like a really good grasp of optics.
I know. I was very impressed. I think those pirates are so smart, and they looked great.
Yeah,
they really
I mean,
did.
you could tell. I could like smell salt while I was talking to them.
Yeah,
and hear the cries of the gulls. It was it was like we were there with them.
It was like we were there with them, and I think, listen, I think that they looked so great in part because they clearly had a good grasp of nutrition science.
Those are very healthy pirates.
They were very healthy pirates. Because one of the most dangerous things on any early modern sea voyage was actually scurvy.
That's right. Much more dangerous than a ghost ship. Scurvy or vitamin C deficiency was a terrible disease that attacks basically everything in the entire body.
Symptoms of scurvy include body aches, extreme fatigue, bleeding gums, weak teeth, severe joint pain, weakness, poor wound healing, bruising, open sores, fainting, and death. Scurvy not recommended.
And the biggest source of vitamin C before food preservation and refrigeration and vitamins and supplements was fresh fruit and produce, which, if you think about it, is not exactly abundant in the middle of the ocean.
Nope. And long before science isolated out specific vitamins and understood what the body used them for, people did know that sea voyages could make you weak and sick unless you brought certain kinds of foods with you. Now, what those foods were was the point of disagreement. Some people thought what you needed was hearty food, like meat and bread, to keep your body from wasting, because scurvy was sometimes seen as a wasting illness. Others actually observed that citrus fruits or pickles seemed to help, but the type of citrus fruit was crucial.
Yeah, in the 1740s, a Scottish physician serving in the Royal Navy named James Lind conducted controlled experiments on board ships, which I mean,
it's a little cruel.
It's a little bit cruel. I'll be honest, that experiment would not be approved by the IRB today. However, he wanted to observe the effects of different anti-scurvy diets in sailors. So he ran a bunch of trials with different anti-scurvy remedies, including, but not limited to, a quart of hard cider a day, 25 drops of vitriol, 2 spoonfuls of vinegar. Could also do a half a pint of seawater.
Or an electuary that was a tonic made from garlic, mustard seed, dried radish root, and myrrh. Or barley water treated with tamarinds, and cream of tartar, which is normally a laxative. And the trials, I forgot. He also tried one more thing, which was the trial's most effective, successful remedy: 2 oranges and a lemon for every sailor.
Yes. It only took 2 decades for the Royal Navy to actually adopt an official anti-scurvy regimen. In 1795, a physician named Gilbert Blaine, who'd read Lind's work, finally convinced the Navy to start giving lemon juice to its sailors. And it worked. Scurvy deaths plummeted way down.
Yay!
Woo!
Yay! Thanks to the trials, I guess.
Yay!
But they were still not in the clear. The Royal Navy did make one briefly fatal mistake. They understood the method that cured scurvy, but not the reason behind it. They, like many people, assumed it was the lemon's strong acidity that kept scurvy at bay. Notice that trial had a bunch of vinegar, vitriol, lemons. They were really thinking that it was a strong acid that was holding scurvy back. So the Royal Navy decided that to fight scurvy even harder, it would start using lime juice instead of lemon. Their reasoning was that limes are much, much more acidic. Therefore, they thought it would be a much more potent scurvy fighter. It did not go well.
No. As it turns out, limes have a much lower vitamin C content. But when sailors started dying off again, they quickly remedied the mistake. So that part is good.
Good. Very good. Well, now with this story, we've come full circle. We promised you limes. We promised you ice. We promised you thrills, chills, some dark and stormy nights. And we hit the high seas.
Yeah.
we went far into the Arctic, deep into the waters of the ocean.
Ooh.
We've been everywhere tonight.
Yes, very spooky and very fun. So Lisa, as we kind of wrap things up here, which of these stories was your favorite?
Oh gosh. I mean, I love a ghost ship. You know this about me. You know I love a ghost ship. I can't resist a good ghost ship, a good pirate story. Yeah.
That's
What
true.
about you? What do you like?
I like the bloop. The unexplained sound really sort of creeps me out. So, it's staying with me. So if people want more spooky science stories of water, so we're gonna make sure in the chat we drop a couple of links to articles, because a lot of these came out of actually Distillations articles. So that's where we got our inspiration. But there is another thing you can do if you really want to dive into things. You see what I did there? See what I did?
Of course
Yep.
I do.
Yes. You can come and
It was
visit
really deep.
us.
It was
It was deep. You can come and visit us at our museum and check out Downstream. It's a really excellent exhibition. I think you will really, really enjoy it. Bring your family, bring your friends, come and hang out with us. Let's see, anything else? Oh, you know what? Importantly, you can follow at sciencehistory.org on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah.
And
Tell us what your favorite stories were.
Yeah.
What did you think of the bloop? Do you have other ghost stories to share?
Yes.
Would you get upset if someone came to blow cannons into your backyard to make rain?
Yes.
Tell us what you thought of all the stories and share some spooky water stories of your own.
For sure. If you do have one, definitely tweet it at us and let us know. And I think, I don't know. I think that about covers it. Let's see. We've got spooky stories. We've got come visit the museum. Oh, you know what? Actually, probably most important of all, if you want to support our work, if you want to make it possible for us to do these programs, make these exhibitions, share stories of science with the world, you can actually donate to us. You can text Science History to 44-321, or you can visit sciencehistory.org/give. We'll be happy. Any donation in any amount helps us do this. So trick or treat. Yeah. Please don't bring us Hershey bars with like waxy like surfaces, because that's not what
we've had enough of those.
We've had enough of those. All right, Lisa. So I guess should we do our regular sign off, even though this is a little bit different? Okay. All right. All right. So for Distillations, I'm Alexis Pedrick.
And I'm Lisa Berry Drago. And remember, Distillations is more than a podcast. Sometimes it's a live stream, a video, and a multimedia magazine.
Exactly. So check us out, and thanks for watching. Good night.
Good night. Bye. Woo.
Woo.
Bloop.